this morning, describing the situation of the economy as alarmingly dangerous and chaotic like never before. Mr. Rai, I'd like to begin the discussion with you before we come to the specifics of the falling rupee prices, joblessness, etc., and of course falling growth. What are your first thoughts on the discussion that took place in Lok Sabha today? In view of the finance minister's reply, was he able to assuage your fears?
No, I think from the standpoint of the finance minister, what he's tried to posit before the people of India is that the situation is not as alarming as Gurudas Gupta would like us to believe. And he has outlined the 10 steps which he thinks ought to be taken. And I think in some ways he has put the perspective in
economy. Do you also fear we are going back to a 1991 like situation?
You know, the present political scenario, I can quote here: man makes the money, money never makes the man. Presently what happened, money is making the man, and it's just creating disaster, turmoil. And in the present context, I like to quote that what happened to India nowadays. Our India was vibrant India, including India. It converted to loot India because of scams. Common people, they don't understand scams. They are voting. But presently I don't understand the reality that I have never seen from independence to till now. It happened. If this should be checked out, yeah, we are lacking of management.
Okay. All right, I'll let Dr. Mungekar respond to that. Dr. Mungekar, is the current situation because of a mismanagement of the economy by the government, as Dr. Patasani has alleged?
First of all, I congratulate all members of Lok Sabha for seriously discussing the state of the economy, because it is extremely important. Despite the views are different, it is extremely important that world community is aware that government of India and the parliament has taken this very seriously. After so many days, such kind of discussion has taken place. Having said this, it is undoubtedly the situation today is disturbing, but absolutely not chaotic or going back to 1991 as my friend Gurudas Das Gupta just now mentioned. Just quick two responses. I would say that the rate of inflation was around 18% in July 1991. Wholesale price index was 18%. Today, fortunately, it is 9%, substantially higher. It is above 6%, which is the tolerating capacity of the people. Second, in July 1991, we had foreign exchange reserves just to manage 15 days imports. Today, we are having, fortunately, about 7 months cover for 6.5 months cover for foreign exchange. That's why whatever problems are there, those problems definitely cannot be compared to the situation prevailing in 1991. Second point is government is seized with these problems. For example, as you mentioned in the beginning, inflation, currency depreciation. During last 6 or 7 months, currency has been depreciated really 9 to 10% or so. It is unprecedented. Rate of inflation, it is about 9%. Current account deficit around 4.8%. But practically, as finance minister replied today the debate with all seriousness, he has given the perspective of around 9 or 10 steps. And on each and every issue, government is taking whatever steps. Prices by say October or November, I think comparatively situation will be much better. Second point is infrastructure is important, and yesterday only cabinet committee on appointment, cabinet committee on investment cleared nearly 35 projects involving the amount of nearly 2 lakh crores of rupees.
Right.
Now this was developing economies. Foreign direct investment as well as FII, they are all volatile.
Right.
By definition, for these FII, they are volatile, they are uncertain, and there cannot be any specific time limit that when they can be stable. The last point for the first installment is concerned. about depreciation of the rupee. It is serious concern.
Okay, Dr. Mungekar, I'll interrupt you here. We'll discuss the depreciation of rupee in greater detail. But basically, you're saying that you are hopeful that the situation is going to improve in the coming days and months. Urmi, how do you look at the current economic situation?
Okay, we should be worried. Maybe not, it doesn't have to be as dramatic, as chaotic as Gurudas Dasgupta said, but neither should we be complacent or be lulled by the finance minister saying. They both are sort of presenting their picture as they see it or as they're required to. You know, you can't have a finance minister who say, yes, life is chaotic. I mean, you can't expect that. You know, that's the wrong signal. But the question really is that have we, in our years of great growth, we had 3 years where we had great growth. In those years of great growth, did we do the things that we should have done? That could have probably stemmed the tide of the problems we face now. Some of it is, as Dr. Rai mentioned, external. We have no control over it. If you look at emerging economies, across the board, they are in situations which are as bad or worse than ours. China, the great growth story, has also slackened. The growth there has slackened. Everybody is talking about it. We see, we made decision, we did farm loan waivers, which turned out to be a problem because, as the CAG revealed, that there was, you know, there were nice electoral measures. But did we do the investments that matter, the investments in the future that matter, that investments that ensure that we actually improve wealth, not just growth, not just income? Because what happens is that we get focused on increasing income, on GDP. So we are very happy when GDP is 8.5, but we are not looking at increasing wealth that will sustain us to the days of poor income.
All right, but of course, lately there's been a big reforms push by the government. We'll discuss whether or not the steps taken by the government are coming too late in the day. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Well, none of these measures are really magic bullets. So, therefore, everything takes time to kick in. But as Dr. Rai said it earlier, you have to look at ensuring that you create the conditions for greater investment. And that is what needs to be done. Because, I mean, I'm sure that he'll bear me out or maybe contradict me on this, but if why is the rupee free falling? Some of it is, of course, the strengthening of the dollar. We see it happening across currencies in emerging markets. So some of it is global. But the other factor, which Dr. Mungekar referred to earlier, is the high current account deficit. And there are two major factors, two major items that led to it. One is our petroleum, which we don't seem to have a way to control. And the other is gold. On gold, some measures have been taken, but obviously people imported gold to hedge against inflation. You know, so you have to pay the price for that. And on the petroleum side, now how do you sort of stem imports there? You can stem imports there by actually sort of creating sort of alternative ways of not using that, not needing petroleum so much. So that's also again a long-term measure. But the fact is that you have to then increase your exports, and to increase your exports you have to invest, whether it's in manufacturing. I, of course, am a big believer that you should invest in
Welcome back to Public Forum. We are discussing the current state of the Indian economy. Loksabha today discussed the current economic situation, taking it up as a discussion under Rule 193. Let's now listen in to BJP leader Yashwant Sinha. Yashwant Sinha, they are mocking at the to keep foreign exchange in the country, speaking in Lok Sabha today. Dr. Mungekar, I'll come to you now. Let's focus on the rupee free fall now. The rupee has, breached 66 against the dollar now. Meanwhile, the government has taken a series of measures, even the RBI has taken a series of measures to arrest the fall of the rupee, but none of these measures seems to have worked. What would you say?
If we see objectively, it will be very blunt answer. But Mr. Yashwant Sinha, or nobody for that matter, can predict what is the level of rupee against dollar. once you, because the basic reason is that rupee is finding its own level in terms of the import and export relationship of India. It is alarming. It is really disturbing situation, somewhat alarming situation, not for the whole economy, but the rupee depreciation. But the question is, had Mr. Yashwant Sinha would have been finance minister, also would not have been at this moment of time been in position to take any step or measure which could have prevented the fall of rupee vis-a-vis the dollar. The question is more than the fiscal deficit. It is essentially the gap between the export and the import earnings is the reason for rupees depreciation. Now there are two reasons. One, that we could not expand our export during the last 2 years, while our imports went on increasing, and despite our increasing exports, we could not expand manufacturing sector. Second important point is that our industrial structure has